So for those of us that exercise or train on a daily basis or a few times a week, whatever you do, those of us that exercise or train specific or in a general type of way, we're usually doing three different types of movements. One is sagittal plane, two is frontal plane, and three is transverse plane. Now, to get into a little bit of details, sagittal plane has to do with anything that you're bending a joint in basically a front to back motion. So that can be either running, squatting, lunging, curling, pressing anything up overhead, any types of those certain movements. Next, frontal plane has to do with anything that is abducting or adding in a side type of fashion. Now that can be doing pull-ups, doing side lunges. Now side lunges are both frontal and sagittal. When you get into just specific joint isolation, then you can really determine which movements are which regarding these different planes. Now when you're doing performance type based work, most times you're using more than just one plane, but frontal has to do with adding or subtracting to the sides of your body, basically cutting yourself in a straight line if you were looking at the side view of your body, so having a front and back half. So that's frontal plane. Transverse plane has to do with anything that's rotational across the body. This can be rotational torso, rotational lower body, anything in that type of manner, or even your neck, something like that. So when it comes to lots of fitness exercises and things like that, usually that we're doing sagittal plane or frontal plane movements. That in return is keeping ourselves pretty safe, because most of the injuries that happen to a lot of athletes are actually in the transverse plane. That being said, the transverse plane is usually not a plane that we usually target. In CrossFit, places for example, our specific gym, we don't have a whole lot of transverse plane movements. Actually, I can't really think of anything that we usually do that's in a transverse plane, rotating the upper body in that sort of fashion. Now, a great option for the work on the transverse plane is using a hammer or else some type of pole. So specifically, I have a SISU Warhammer made from Rogue. So by itself, it's 14 pounds. If you add some sand to it, it's 20 pounds. If you add lead shot, I think it's called lead shot, it's 28 pounds. So with this type of hammer, with having an balanced end on one side, you can really use the full core aspect of just rotational exercises with that. Personally, I like to hit the tractor tire back there with the hammer. Now if you're doing a downward strike, you're going to have to rotate your body at some certain angle to actually get leverage on the bar before you bring it back down. The hammer is a perfect tool for rotational type movements. Also, it can be done for shoulder stability movements as well, shoulder strengthening. Depending on where you're at in your current fitness level, that will determine if you should use a little bit more weight or less weight, or maybe no weight at all, when regarding a shoulder circumduction type drill. Now, different way how to work on rotational: holding the hammer, just rotate your body, side hitting. So side slams against a certain block or else a tire leaning up against a wall. That will be a perfect exercise for working on rotational movements. Now, obviously if you're in baseball or maybe lacrosse, something like that, a certain sport, you're doing rotational type movements, just like football. But when regarding to training, most of us, especially everyday athletes or weekend warriors, we usually never train rotational exercises regularly, if anything. Now, for the normal person, when it comes to When it gets to winter, we usually go outside, we shovel snow. That's a rotational type exercise. Have you ever thought, why am I getting so winded just shoveling snow? Well, it's because, one, we don't train the transverse plane that often. Two, there's a heavy load on one end of the pole, and you're rotating and throwing it off to a different side. Or else maybe you just don't exercise and that's pretty hard for you. One of those. SISU Warhammer is a perfect tool for training the transverse plane or rotational type exercises. You can also do this with a med ball or something like that, but for a ballistic type exercise, for a violent, intense exercise, I do highly recommend grabbing a hammer. If you're grabbing a sledgehammer, make sure to grab one that's fully constructed of metal. Don't use one if it's made out of a wood handle and like a stone or whatever type head to it. I literally broke a sledgehammer that's laying back here somewhere in just 3 hits. It's made out of a wood handle and a stone or type concrete or whatever it is type head to it. So I do highly recommend grabbing a hammer that's completely made out of metal. The only downside that I don't like about it is that when they shipped it, they didn't ship it with any nuts or anything for to actually hold the bolts down to each other. So I had to go over to Ace Hardware and pick up some. Plus, the hammer isn't as advertised. It's on their website, the one that they shipped me. It's not even laser edged for saying SISU on the side of the hammer head. All I got is a plain hammer, which is not bad. I mean, it doesn't take away from anything of the hammer. It's just, it doesn't say SISU, which is a pretty cool engraving aspect of this type of tool. So that's a little bit of a downside, especially downside on Rogue's part. If I like to run up the street with it, I like to use it outside. If people see that it said SISU on the hammer, they'll go Google SISU and then they'll find the hammer and they'll probably buy it. So this is the down part on their side. All I got is a hammer that's metal, and most likely there's not going to be any marketing for that. So I highly recommend going to Rogue and then looking at either their Slater Slammer or else their SISU hammers. Perfect for slams against a tire or any type of rotational movements just like that. The SISU Warhammer is going to be about $100. The Slater Slammer is about $200, so just put that in perspective. Here's a demo of a Tabata style exercise with a Warhammer slams. Tabata being 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off for rest. About 8 rounds in total. That's 4 minutes long duration. It's a perfect way of how to get the arm pump in your forearms and getting a awesome workout in just 4 minutes long. Plus, it helps you work on the ATP PC system. If you're familiar with that, I'll make a video detailing that and different types of energy systems pretty soon, so be sure to check those out. Here's a demo of the Tabata style, only a couple of rounds I'll put in this video. Then from there, just be sure to check out any other videos I upload. I'm looking to upload some more videos throughout the week, 1 or 2 weekly vlogs, and then other helpful videos regarding health and fitness just like this one. So please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.